Hi, in this video we are going to talk about how to get our postcards started and get all of that ready to go. So here's an example of the beginnings of a postcard that I put together. We will talk about all of the steps that I went through to get to this point. I'll recreate another postcard pretty similar to this, but not exactly the same. As I mentioned, in Classroom, you are putting together a postcard for the location where you live. So that could be the town itself, or if you wanted to get a little bit more specific, you could make a postcard for your school or, some location within your town. That would be fine with me. Mine is just going to be for Bismarck. So here I am in Photoshop. I'm going to create a new document because here is mine, but I want to walk you through all the steps that I went through to get here. So I'll go to File and New. The size for our document is going to be 4 inches for the height and 6 inches for the width. So I just said them in the opposite, but 6 inches wide, 4 inches high. You could go vertically, this portrait orientation. I'm going to create mine via landscape orientation. Resolution 300, color mode RGB. And now I will hit create. Okay, so now I have my new blank document. I need to get my image in here that I am going to use as sort of the background image. So this is the photo that you took of the location where you live. So like I mentioned, it had been really cold out. I think it's a little bit warmer today, but you don't necessarily need to leave your house or your car in order to capture this image, but I would like you to put some thought into capturing it. So if that means maybe you need to get in the car and drive somewhere that looks nice, that would be a good idea. But like I mentioned too, definitely do not take a photo while you are driving a car. So pull over to the side and either get out real quick and snap the picture and then get back in your car, or roll down the window at the very least. But definitely do not photograph anything while you are driving a moving car. That's my safety warning right there. Okay, but make sure that your photo is a good one. Okay, we want to use some good photos for these and not just the first image that you possibly could see. So I'm going to place my photo in here. I could do that by dragging it into this document, or the way I'm going to do it will be File, and I'll go to Place Linked. So I'm going to go navigate to where my picture is saved. Mine's on my desktop. I'm going to use this one right here. It's similar to the one that I showed you in this example, but not exactly the same. So, whoops, I forgot to place it. So I'll do that again. So File, Place Linked, Place, and now I need to hit the check mark. And mine automatically is pretty similar to the size that I had set up, so I don't even really need to resize it. But again, if you would need to, you can just hit Control T for free transform, hold down the Shift key as you drag from a corner, and then you can resize it. And if yours doesn't exactly fit the dimensions, that's fine. Just make sure that all of the white space around the edges is covered up. So we don't want anything like this. Just pull it out, and if your picture needs to be cropped a little bit due to that, that's just fine. So I'll leave mine about there. So I can hit the check mark or the enter button. In there, I'm good to go. Okay, so now that I have my photo in here, I can apply adjustments to this if I wanted to. Pretty much any photo that you take automatically requires a little bit of tweaking. Even though I'm pretty happy with this photo overall, I might maybe lighten it just a little bit, maybe bump up the saturation a touch, things like that. And you can get to that through your adjustments panel. If you don't see that here automatically in your window, you can go to Window and Adjustments. See, mine has that check mark. That means that that panel is open here. So I have my adjustments, they're right here. Yours might not be in exactly the same spot, but if that check mark is there, then that means that it's open somewhere. Okay, so that's pretty good overall. I might come back and make some other adjustments to this photo. I can do that at a later time if I want. Once I put all of my elements together, then I can take a look at it again and see if I want to make any other changes. Okay, so my next step then is to add some text. So like I said, you're creating a postcard for the location where you live. I'm going to make mine for Bismarck. So I have my type tool. I'm just going to click and drag out a rectangle to approximately the size of the text that I'd like it to be. So I want to fill up a lot of that space with text. I don't want my text to be teeny tiny in the corner because I want people to know immediately when they look at this what this postcard is for, the location. So I type mine in there, but I don't see any type. So I'm just gonna, I see my type here, so I must have added it, but I'm gonna double click right here on this little T, and that, sorry, that should show where we're at. It doesn't. So if I click off of that, I need to make sure that I'm getting that box. So that box is telling me where my type is. Mine is too big to fit in that box, and that's the problem that I'm having. So I just will drag this down until we get it to fit. So let's keep going. So somewhere, now we're getting in to the right range. So like I said, I kind of want to fill up that space. So that's about good for me. So that's 62 points. My text was set to black. That doesn't matter because we're actually going to add an image to that text. If you notice in this original, this has an image applied to it, and it's hard to tell in this photo exactly, but that is an image and not just a color. So I could add a different color to my text. I could change the color of that font, but that's piece of cake, right? We want to add a little bit more interest. So I could go about changing the color of my text that way, but let's do this the other way. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an image to our text. So I have my text typed out. I have my image that I want on, like, applied to my text. I have that on my desktop, so I'm just clicking and dragging that in. You could go through the same process that we did for our other image, going File, Place, Linked. That's just a different way to go about it. So Photoshop has a lot of different options for pretty much anything, and that's one of the places where we have lots of options. Okay, so now I have my image in here and my text there. So these would be considered my layers. That will be my text layers. Anything below that, that would be my image layer, and then the adjustments that I applied to that image. Now I want to just apply this image to this text, and I want to clip that image to this text. So in order to do that, on a PC, you want to hold down your Alt button. So that Alt button that's right next to your space bar, hold that down until you see, if you can see my little cursor here, until you see that little square with the black arrow right next to it. When I see that, I get to that when I put my cursor right in between layers. So right now, I'm going to go in between the Bismarck text layer and that image layer that I want to apply to that text. Hold down the Alt button until I see this little icon. My cursor changes to that, and I'm going to click. So now this image, my image of my sky, sort of that rural road, is applied to my text. So as you can see, when I have the move tool, now I could move that image. You can see, whoops, kind of went back into the other image. But if I drag that around, I can move my image, and you can see a different part of that image behind my text, or on top of my text, I should say, sort of attached to the text. So again, that is applying a clipping mask. So that's kind of cool, and that will come into play in all sorts of fun ways later on down the road, but it's kind of a cool little thing to have in your back pocket. So there we go, we have that text in there. I like to add sort of a slogan or a saying. So I'm going to add another text layer. So I'll just go to my type tool, click on that. I'm going to click and drag a box. I'll start out right here. I might move this around. You can make up your town's sort of slogan for this postcard. So if you want your postcard to say, you know, if you live in New Salem, you could have home of Salem Sioux. If you live in Bismarck, you can have where all the cool people live. Just joking, just joking. I'm going to put that on here, but you can put whatever you want. So I typed that in there. Again, my text is too big, so I'm going to decrease the size of it till it fits. And I spelled something wrong, so I'm clicking here, fix that. So I can move that now. So I could put that up here. Maybe I want to overlap a little bit. I right-clicked to select the appropriate layer. I want to move my Bismarck layer up just a little bit, so I'm going to move that up. And I do like the way that overlaps, so I'm going to probably leave them overlapping, but I'm going to fit them up there and there. I'm pretty happy with that. If I put everything together and I decide that I still want to make changes, I could. If I wanted to, for example, adjust this background image layer so that I'll bring the saturation down so it's more towards the black and white end. I could do that. So I could pull that all the way down, and that's kind of a cool effect. Excuse me. So I could do something like that. I don't want to keep that, so what I'm going to do is I applied this adjustment layer. This is the one that I just created. I'm going to click and drag this down to the trash. You could also click on it and hit the delete button on your keyboard, and that would do the same thing. Other things you can do is, so I'm going to click on my text layer, and now I'm going to go down to this little FX button. So that's adding a layer style. I'm going to click on one of these. So maybe I want to add, I don't know, like a drop shadow or something. So you can see I have a little drop shadow there behind my "where the cool people live" text. So maybe I want to do an outer glow. So I click on outer glow, and then I can apply any adjustments to any of these settings here. So I see that just a little bit. It's just sort of a pretty subtle effect back there, but I kind of like the way that looks. So I'm going to, I could change the color of it too if I wanted to, but I like the way the white looks. But just so you know, if I apply that, I can apply that with whatever color. You can see that it warmed up a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but if I zoom in, you might be able to see a little bit more. It's a little bit warmer back there than the white was. I'm going to go back to white because I kind of liked the way that looked. And there we go, back to that. I'll zoom back out. I'm hitting Command plus to zoom in. Sorry, on a PC it's Control plus to zoom in. Gets me every time. Control minus to zoom out. Okay, so like I said, I'm pretty happy with that. So I think I will be done with that. If you have any questions about any other things that you want to do to this postcard that we didn't talk about in this video, for sure, definitely let me know, and we can cover any other effects that you're looking for. But that's all you need for this assignment. You need a background image, you need some text, and you need to apply an image to that text via that clipping mask. So if you have questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing your finished postcards. All right, bye.